I stumbled upon an old antique shop in a quiet, forgotten town where the past's mysteries hid in dusty corners. Among the curious objects in the window, I noticed a doll named Evelyn. Evelyn was a bit strange with her porcelain skin and bright green eyes. She looked like a regular doll, but there was something off about her. She had a dark history, passed down in a family for ages. The story began back in the 1800s when a rich family bought the doll for their little girl, Amelia. It turned out the doll was made by a secretive toy maker who had a thing for the supernatural. Weird things started happening soon after Evelyn arrived. Whispering voices in the night, cries from Amelia, who was once a happy child. As time passed, it got even weirder. Shadows seemed to move around the doll, and when you touched her, it felt like fingers brushed your skin. Amelia's health got worse, and her parents were desperate. They asked the town's expert on spooky stuff, and she warned them about a bad spirit attached to the doll. One stormy night, the doll disappeared. The family searched the whole house, but found nothing. That night, Amelia's cries filled the mansion, like her soul was being torn apart. By morning, they found her dead, and it seemed like her spirit was stuck inside the doll. Evelyn moved from one family to another, leaving behind a trail of bad luck. People who got her had weird nightmares, heard strange whispers, and felt a strong urge to return her to that old antique shop. There, they'd find her, with her wicked green eyes gleaming. I was the next owner, and I didn't know anything about her history. The moment I saw her, I felt some kind of weird connection and bought her. Soon, my life turned into a mess. I'd wake up and find her at the foot of my bed with blood on her porcelain fingers. I'd have these creepy dreams about Amelia's suffering and the spooky toy maker's rituals. Evelyn's evil power got stronger, and I was scared all the time. I had to dig up her dark history and realized I had to set Amelia's spirit free to stop the doll's curse. On a dark night, I went to a forgotten cemetery deep in the woods. I put the doll next to Amelia's grave and waited until dawn. When the first light hit, a gust of wind blew through the trees, and it felt like a goodbye. Amelia's spirit was finally free, and the doll, now lifeless, turned into dust. The cursed heirloom was no more, and the haunted doll's terror was over. But the legend of Evelyn, the doll with the green eyes, lived on as a spooky tale, a warning about messing with supernatural things.
When I moved into my new house, I discovered an old porcelain doll tucked away in a dusty corner of the attic. Its glassy eyes stared blankly, and its faded dress had seen better days. As I looked closer, I couldn't help but feel an eerie presence about the doll. I had never been a believer in the supernatural, but strange things began to happen. One night, as I was reading in bed, I heard faint giggles from the living room. My heart raced as I tiptoed to investigate, only to find the doll had moved from the attic to the center of the room. I knew I had left it up there. The following evening, I placed the doll on a shelf in my bedroom, convinced I had imagined the whole thing. But the giggles returned, followed by the sound of tiny footsteps. I turned on the light to find the doll now perched at the edge of my bed. There was no explanation for how it had moved on its own. The encounters became more frequent. Each night, the doll seemed to grow closer to my bed. I could hear its soft laughter and the faint pitter-patter of porcelain feet on the wooden floor. The sense of dread in my bedroom was overwhelming, and I began to lose sleep. One evening, as I lay paralyzed with fear, the doll slowly climbed onto my bed, inching closer and closer. Its glassy eyes locked onto mine, and a haunting whisper escaped its unmoving lips. "Play with me," it murmured. Terrified, I couldn't take it anymore. I reached out and grabbed the doll, determined to end this bizarre nightmare. But as my fingers touched its cold porcelain skin, I felt a jolt of electricity shoot through me, and the room went dark. I woke up the next morning, the doll back in its original place in the attic. I could hardly believe what had happened. Was it all a dream, or had I truly experienced a paranormal encounter? I decided to lock the doll away in a wooden box, securing it with heavy chains. I hoped that by doing so, I could keep whatever malevolent force inhabited it at bay. It worked, and the doll remained motionless and silent, never moving on its own again. To this day, the chilling memory of the moving doll lingers in the back of my mind, a constant reminder that there are things in this world that defy explanation. I've never been able to bring myself to open that box and confront the doll again, for fear of what might happen if I do. On the outskirts of Mexico City, nestled deep within the ancient canals of Xochimilco, lies a place that few dare to visit, Isla de las Muñecas, the island of the dolls. This eerie island is shrouded in legends and mysteries that have terrified both locals and tourists for decades. I had always been drawn to the macabre, and when I heard the stories about this island, I couldn't resist the temptation to explore it. The island was said to be haunted by the spirits of lost souls and the dolls that adorned its trees. So, I embarked on a journey to witness the strangeness for myself. As I arrived, I was greeted by the uncanny sight of thousands of dolls hanging from the trees. Some were missing limbs, others had broken faces, and all of them were weathered by time. It was an unsettling sight, like walking into a doll graveyard. Julian, the caretaker of the island, welcomed me. He told me the story of how the island came to be haunted. According to him, many years ago, a man named Don Julian Santana moved to the island to live in solitude. He claimed to have found the body of a drowned girl and a floating doll near the island. Believing that the girl's spirit was trapped, he began hanging dolls to appease her restless soul. Don Julian became obsessed, collecting dolls from trash heaps and canals, even trading his crops for more. The island soon became a sanctuary of sorts, with dolls of all shapes and sizes, their lifeless eyes seemingly following you as you moved about. Julian would talk to the dolls, insisting that they whispered to him and that they protected him from evil spirits. Julian's tales and his collection unnerved me, but I couldn't deny the strange energy that seemed to permeate the island. As the sun set, I decided to spend the night in one of the small huts on the island, hoping to witness something otherworldly. In the stillness of the night, I heard faint whispers, like the soft voices of children playing in the distance. I stepped outside and saw the dolls swaying in the breeze, their eerie giggles filling the air. It was as if they had come to life, moving on their own. Fear surged through me as I watched them dance and sway, their lifeless bodies now imbued with an unnatural vitality. As dawn broke, the island grew silent once more, and the dolls hung motionless, as if nothing had happened. It left me wondering if I had merely dreamt a bizarre spectacle. Was it a trick of the mind, or a genuine encounter with the supernatural? I left the island of the dolls with more questions than answers, but one thing was certain: the legends surrounding this place were more than just tales. The dolls on the island seemed to hold a secret, a story of lost souls, and an inexplicable connection to the world beyond. The haunting memory of that night still lingers in my mind, reminding me that the mysteries of the island of the dolls will never be fully understood.